All right, well, we can get started. I see lots of people are joining us. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kara Renee with Greater Portland, Inc. Thank you for joining us for another edition of our Road to Recovery webinar series. All webinars are recorded and available to our partners. You see those links that come out in the invitations for future webinars and also in the monthly newsletter. As part of the series, GPI is partnering with global consulting firm Slalom to provide webinars called Leading Through Uncertainty to help communities and companies stay successful working in the virtual world. Today's topic is the new virtual experience, how to design for the right customer engagement. And many of us are saying, this is the new normal. What does it mean as it applies to virtual interactions with customers? How should companies design for the new virtual world? Well, to help us find out, we have Dawn Scata with us today. Dawn leads Slalom's customer strategy and marketing technology regional team for the West region. She is a customer experience expert who has spent over 15 years partnering with global brands in their digital strategy and customer experience transformations. You're invited to use a chat feature to ask questions during Dawn's presentation and at the completion of her talk. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Dawn Scata. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Can you see my screen? Thumbs up? Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for making the time for this webinar. As Kara mentioned, this topic is about what is that new virtual experience? What does that mean? And as we potentially pivot into this new norm, how do we design for the right customer experience? For today, there are 3 areas that we'll cover. So let's look at some potential trends, trend indicators. What digital or technology experiences are we seeing for the first time? And signals. Are there signals for actual real shift happening in consumer behaviors and attitudes? And if you are to launch into designing a new virtual customer experience or update what you have today, where do we start? What are those themes or markers that characterize virtual customer experience design, and how do we prepare for that? We'll start with what we're seeing for the first time. We're going to go through some of these examples quickly just to set the stage. And as we go through this section, feel free to chime in on the comment section. You can just click on the chat section of the Zoom meeting and share anything that resonates with you or triggers or even scares you. Some of these are funny, some of these are a little unsettling the first time I saw them as well. And I'd love to hear how you feel about these. Home everything. This is something that resonates with all of us. Our home is the base for everything. Classes, gym, office, schooling, wedding, the list is continuing. Everyone is creating content, trying to get a little bit of that fame online, and from celebrities to average Joes, they're just putting a lot of new content out there and people are consuming them. We've taken the concept of drive-through to another level. This is actually a video station in Southern California where a resident is driving up to the video station to speak with council members in real time. And these stations are kind of put in different corners of the city to replace people not being able to come in person to the council meetings. Secrets are coming out, especially in industries that are heavily impacted by loss of traffic. You see companies that are sharing their secrets. Guacamole recipe that Chipotle's been guarding for many years, they've actually decided to just put it out there in a video format for people to see. DoubleTree's famous cookie, everyone knows how to make them now. And then Disney even put out their Dole Whip recipe that's one of the signatures when you go to a Disney theme park. What I call Terminator to rescue, drones are being used to keep the public employees safe. They're going into kind of busier areas of the public to make PSA announcements over a loudspeaker telling people to disperse if they're too close to each other. They're also going into houses where dead bodies have been reported. They're transporting medical samples and they're spraying disinfectants. And this drone strategy is something that's widely used already in the US, China, and Spain, and more to come for sure. Robotics aren't just for the public sector. This is a Spot. It's a four-legged robot dog. It's being tested in Singapore for public safety. And it's going to be launched in September for anyone to use as kind of your own personal space dog. And so if anyone comes too closely, the dog will perk up, and instead of barking, he'll say, "Let's keep Singapore healthy. Please stand at least 1 meter apart. Thank you." It was a little unnerving for me to see this one, but I get the concept. Loyalty for disloyalty. Thai Airlines is actually giving away points if you stay home for a certain amount of time. And this is done through an app that you download and you track. It tracks whether you stayed home. And it's a really interesting idea because mileage programs for an airline is exactly the opposite, right? You get miles for flying and miles for redeeming, etc. This one is a on-demand kind of like Uber service, except it's public transit, and this is an app that launched in Canterbury, New Jersey. And this app completely replaces the fixed bus routes with on-demand routes that prioritizes all the essential needs like pharmacies, hospitals, and groceries. And what's also really interesting about this one is that they were able to accelerate the launch date just so that this app was available at the peak of the pandemic. New dictionary, new words and lexicons popping up, mostly in social media, but you see a lot of new words and people just understand them without a definition. So Coachella is kind of that music event Coachella over Zoom with your own set of friends. Story FaceTime, it's if you have kids, you know what that's like to do story time over FaceTime. The newest one on this list is isolationships. That's basically a relationship happening over isolation. So where are we headed? This is actually a picture of my daughter. She's 4 and she's doing playtime over FaceTime with her friend. And they're both wearing computer glasses. And I'd like to talk about next what kind of stats or numbers we are seeing that potentially signals a real shift happening. So are there signals for a real shift? The clear answer is we don't know. There are varying hypotheses on both sides. So on one side, you have folks going, we're going to rebound right back to what it used to be. All the the e-commerce numbers are going to back out, and the physical commerce, physical retail is going to come back up. On the other side, you have social scientists predicting longer lasting impact on socialization. Already consumer surveys are coming back with results like, when things go back to normal, I'm going to do more virtual happy hours versus going to a bar, or I'm going to prefer to watch movies at home versus going to a theater. What is clear is that digital is currently addressing our needs from functional to emotional. So let's start with wellness needs. You see a lot of increase in workout videos. Well, if you can't go to the gym, at least it's one way to do it. So obviously we're seeing that. But people who are using telehealth, most of them are really saying they like it or they love it. And cooking and recipe videos are going up, as well as, not surprisingly, do-it-yourself online purchases and do-it-yourself online videos like how to dye or how to braid your hair, things like that. There's also some support for escapism and entertainment. Americans are actually not interested in content related to COVID. They rather go to YouTube and improve their needs, watching entertainment videos or music content or comedy. And they're also spending more time on YouTube just watching those mood-lifting videos. And it's not just the pre-recorded content that's on YouTube. You also see views on live videos like Instagram and Facebook, where you can actually see someone doing a live taping of content and in real time. And that's definitely going up as well. For communities and socializations, with me videos are those videos where you put it on and then you're doing activities with your friends or somebody else or a group of people, and there's been a big increase in those videos all across the video video channels like YouTube. But House Party app is also it's a gaming app that you can get on with your friends, and you can do games together and answer kind of these fun quizzes and polls together. And there have been 50 million signups in just the past month. And virtual happy hours, I think even by the end of this meeting, I'm sure that's closer to 300 or over 300%. And then even features like Netflix Party, where you can watch Netflix at home with your friends watching the same video at the same time, and you can have chat functions and you can chat with them about the movie during the movie, things like that. And that's driving new subscribers. So you see people leaning on these kind of community-driven engagements online. So far we cover that there are things happening that we've never seen before. We also don't know if this is really here to stay for sure, or these potential shifts are going to still shift or go away. So we just really don't know the future, if it's here to stay or not. So until what we call this new norm goes away, we do need to plan for it, err on the side of caution, because what you don't want to do is do nothing and potentially miss out on what your customers are looking for. So this section is about better understanding, well, what is virtual experience? What's the virtual customer experience that I need to think about now? So there are 4 themes in designing a virtual customer experience. And I'll go through each one of them quickly, and then in the next section, we'll take each one and kind of think about the specific trend indicators that are happening now and what that means to consumer expectations or consumer behaviors and attitudes, and what you could be doing now to prepare early. So the first theme is around mirroring. So this is just simply whatever is happening online, you're mirroring it, replicating into the online world. So if you think about socialization, you're out with your friends, that essentially online is an online community. Augmentation is the idea of combining both the physical experience with the online experience to create a more enhanced, almost a surround system of the 5 senses. So if you think about those Peloton bikes or you're biking, so you have the touch, the smell, and the taste kind of sweaty and everything, but you're also watching a video and hearing the music and the instructions. So that's almost the full surround system of the senses. Journey map elevation is this idea where you create a map of all the touch points from beginning to the end that your customers might be having with you. So as you map these touch points out, the points that go up are kind of points that the customers are having a really great time. They're feeling great sentiments. Hey, this organization knows what I need. And then some touch points are going to dip, and these are where they're going to have some pain points, or they're just not sure exactly what's going on. So as you have this kind of map that's kind of up and down, the idea of this theme is to lift all those touch points, or as much as you can, by delivering more value and meeting those critical needs. So if you think about Weight Watchers, right, there might be this journey happening already and through online content and everything, but it might not be enough for some people. They need those physical meetings that can essentially lift some of those touch points on that journey map. The 4th theme is around emotional connection. So this is about connecting with your customers beyond just meeting functional needs. So if you think about Nike Run Club, you can track your runs, but then there's also a lot of inspiring content and community features to keep you more emotionally connected with that experience. What's important to remember here is that none of these are net new concepts. They have been around since day one of customer experience design. What is new is the indicators of those new trends that we'll cover happening in each of these themes. And as part of your plan to get ready now, your early readiness, what can we do about it? And so I have 8 trend indicators, and we'll go through each in the next few slides. Before I do that, I'm going to stop to see if there are any specific questions. Okay, great. I'll keep moving. So trend indicator number 1, it's around mirroring. And this is the idea that our social events are 100% dependent on real-time technology working right now. We can't be having this meeting without this Zoom working functionally. We can't do workshops in real time with 20, 30 clients on the board, mirror board, where everyone can get in there and participate, and almost like having a physical meeting in a big room, right? Without all these tools, we're kind of stuck. So big customer implication here is that as we move forward, there might be higher consumer expectation in general around real-time or on-demand response time. And they might also start to expect higher visual or video content in general. So what do we do now to prepare? So some early readiness efforts to think about. Assess your current error detection to resolution capability. So if there is a problem, how quickly does that get flagged and resolved? And also, how is your customer service quality overall? Visual asset inventory is something you could start now to see what kind of assets do you have that are considered visual or video content, and are there any new assets that we need to create, just given the behaviors happening today and potentially higher expectation of the kind of content. Trend indicator 2, also around mirroring, is this idea of one-to-one technology experience. We see technology experiences being more readily available for us, right? Even the picture of the council member video station, right? Who would have thought about those kind of stations before COVID? And this, on the right side, that picture is of a Chinese national cloud-based learning platform. And it's a platform where 50 million kids can simultaneously use without it breaking. But to individual student, they're having a very specific personalized experience on that platform. So it's this idea that more folks might be demanding technology extensions across the board. Hey, education's doing it, government's doing it, retailers are definitely doing it, right? And then not only that, they might be expecting that more of that personalized experience become a table stake, that it's basically everyone gets to have a personalized experience, not the same experience that everyone else is going to have. So how do we prepare for that early? Or what can we do now? Assess technology and think about what are those must-have versus nice-to-have technology experiences for your customers. And then also think about personalization in terms of, do I need certain personalization experiences for customers? Where? And am I ready to give that kind of experience? And also, is it worth the investment? So doing that upfront work now is when you actually, it becomes more critical and you do really have to turn it on. Where is that and how much do I spend and how do I turn that on? Trend indicator number 3 is around augmentation. So augmentation is this idea of combining both physical and online. So there's this trend indicator around multiple role play. Before it used to be a little more clear who's a creator, who's a collaborator, who's a follower. Now we are able to wear multiple hats kind of at the same time. So if you think about the mirror board I was talking about, in this, you might be having meetings with your colleagues via Miro, or a lot of consulting firms use Miro boards for almost like whiteboarding sessions virtually with multiple clients at the same time. And these are Post-its, all those colorful little squares. And everyone is able to create new ideas, new concepts by posting their ideas, right? But at the same time, they're on the phone and they're talking to each other and collaborating. So you're able to wear that creator and a collaborator hat. On the right side is a virtual sushi making class one of my colleagues took recently with her friends. And this was over Zoom. Again, you're creating rolls of sushi, but maybe you're terrible at it, but you're still doing it, but you're also having fun because you're collaborating with your friends. Some implication here as we move forward, there might be higher demand for consumer input or feedback. And they might also expect more of these creation or co-creation opportunities because they're already getting used to it now, right? So some early readiness efforts we suggest. One is assess your current voice of customer and voice of employee programs. So these programs are essentially surveys and interviews, you might have to gather input from your customers or your employees to kind of understand what is current state and where are we needing to improve. So making sure you know where your programs are today, where does it need improvements, etc. And also assess your current set of tools or programs that enable your customers to have those creation or collaboration moments. Are they enough? Do we need to do more? So doing that due diligence assessment now. Trend indicator number 4 is around digital storytelling of physical experiences. So this is using more the online platform to tell stories. So you saw the Chipotle's guacamole recipe. Hilton is doing video backgrounds of dream destinations. The Most Southwest Grill is more of a PR stunt, but they're still telling a brand story with this way, which is 8 hours of cheese dipping video, and people are consuming it. So some implication here is consumers might have more expectations around being able to create and have those brand experiences at home. And also great storytelling just becomes that baseline communication. So what do we do now? Think about some of those newer and compelling brand experiences so you don't become quote unquote old. And also identify where touch points or channels that you could be ramping up that creative storytelling or the brand building through storytelling. Trend indicator number 5 around journey map elevation. If you think about yourself as a consumer today, there's a lot of companies and brands that are reaching out to you. Local bike rental. This is actually a bike studio in local Seattle. They decided that since people can come into the studio, we're going to rent our bikes out and they can watch those pre-recorded classes and also have follow-up calls. It's elongating what used to be their customer journey, right? Adding more touch points. Same thing with Target with curbside pickup. They didn't have that before. Now they're doing that. So this elongated customer journey is going to imply potentially sensitivity on the consumer side because they're just tired, engagement fatigue. Like, stop engaging with me, everybody. I'm tired. There's just too many touch points. What do we do now? Assess your preference setting capability. Are you enabling your customers to tell you how they want to be communicated, when and where? Also make sure that you're tracking where your customers more the recent or newly forming sentiments are, so you can track that kind of sensitivity. Trend indicator number 6 is around answering new needs and quickly. So we talked about My Way, that Uber app for bus routes. Another example on the left is Abu Dhabi Healthcare Link. It's actually an Uber experience, but for healthcare professionals only. And implication here is there might be this higher expectation around speed to change as more of these new experiences pop up. So what you can do now is start monitoring, start tracking those new needs along with the sentiment around urgency. How urgent is certain need? How quickly do we need to address that? Trend indicator number 7, we're almost there. This idea around pyramid inversion. So if you think about typical brand pyramid, where on the bottom you have the functional needs, functional benefits that you meet for your customers, and the top is this emotional benefit. So at the bottom, think about toilet paper, right? Companies, stores that are running out of toilet paper, but customers are actually very forgiving about you not being able to meet that bottom functional benefit to some extent, because they get it. They know everyone's in a challenge. But then the top emotional benefit is, how many emails do you get day to day, even now, even a couple of months into this, from companies or brands that you've interacted with in the past saying, we're really working on this for your safety to make sure when, we go back to normal, everybody's going to be okay. Kind of that emotional benefit. So this pyramid is almost flipped on top, where there's so much emphasis on the emotional and not as much on the functional because people are forgiving about it. But implication here is that we might have some withdrawal symptom here where customers might say, no, I want my toilet paper and no excuses anymore. So how do we prepare for that? is sort of monitoring your consumer mindsets around that functional emotional balance and timing. When is it going to flip back? And maybe in some industries, it's irrelevant because it is really about the functional benefit all the time. And the last trend indicator I'll go over is this around short form quarantainment. So as celebrities are creating all these original content in short form formats that look unedited and in the moment. So there are a couple of images here. One is on the left side is celebrities, actually female actresses and stunt women doing kind of this virtual fight where frame by frame they're having a fight one from the other. And on the right is this TikTok videos that American Ballet Theater dancers put up, and it's getting a lot of traction because it's hilarious. But basically the implication here is, you know, as people get more used to these shorter, impromptu, frequent formats, they might prefer that over more the edited and the longer and refined content. So an early readiness effort we suggest is evaluate what your content strategy is, from design. Well, do you have the right content? To operations. Do you have the right technology, tools, and processes in place to deliver content quickly? So in summary, we went over 8 indicators of a potential trend and what that could mean to you and your customers. And planning for early readiness can set you up for tangible business benefits before it's too late. So if you think about business benefits, it really can span from brand side of things, brand awareness, brand impressions, to even word of mouth organic media, to customers, right? Customer satisfaction, retention, loyalty, advocacy, things like that, all the way to even the operational side of things, the content operations, or the discipline of looking at early trends and looking at how quickly we can get speed to change, or do an earlier assessment of digital strategy, things like that. And as you think about erring on the side of caution and preparing for something, do think about this idea of credibility. While one win can deliver beyond just the business benefits, by missing out and not delivering, you could be losing way more because it negatively impacts credibility. So what are the steps in designing the customer experience? This is a whole another topic for another webinar, but I wanted to leave this with you to think about. This is our Infinity framework around virtual customer experience. So if you look at it, it's infinity because, especially given right now the environment of behaviors changing and us not knowing for sure where it's headed, we need to iterate, we need to be agile and continuous. And if you look at those 4 points on here, it's about knowing what's your vision, what's your purpose behind this. To experience mapping, which is what's my starting point? What is the current virtual experience? Where are we excelling? Where are we failing? To, okay, let's now look at pivot to what is that ideal future experience that we need to be able to put out there? And then against that, how do we operationally make that work from people, process, technology-wide? How do we actually be ready for these unplanned changes? And the most important thing about this framework I want to leave you with is, it's not about looking at everything and having a really big, holistic, virtual, digital customer experience. You don't have to approach it that way. You can just take one layer of experience. Take content strategy, for example, content assessment of what's going on with your current content. And just start at number 2. Where are we today with that content? What are those things we need to improve? And go to 3, and then go to 4. And it's about evolving from there and continuing to evolve. So closing thoughts, we don't know where we're headed for sure. We do know that we need to prepare. So in the words of a very nervous mom concerned about long-term impact of the screen time on kids this young, quote, "At least I know how to prepare with blue light blocking glasses." Thank you.